Danny Trejo is a famous actor who played in iconic movies such as Heat, Blood In, Blood Out, and his feature film, Machete. But did you know he grew up in an abusive household, did heroin and cocaine at an extremely young age, and also he was in and out of jail and spent 10 years in prison, and was friends with the head leaders of the Mexican Mafia, and got his first break in acting at the age of 41. This is the inspiring story of the legend, Danny Trejo.
I had to learn how to fight or get the hell kicked out of me, and I learned how to fight pretty good. I thought that drugs were my answer. As long as I stay loaded, I'm okay, but life would turn into chaos.
Danny Trejo was born May 16, 1944, Echo Park, which is in East Central region of Los Angeles. Danny Trejo is the son of a Mexican-American parents, Dolores Rivera King and Denicio Dan. His father was a construction worker, also in a street gang. His childhood was very disturbing. His father was very abusive to Danny. One morning, Danny Trejo was asleep and woke up to his father strangling him, and at this time he was only 7 years old. They briefly went to Texas because his father was trying to escape the law due to stabbing another man. Texas was not ideal for Danny and his family, and Danny didn't like Texas. He despised the mosquitoes. Within a year in Texas, his family moved back to LA. His father turned himself into the police in 1949. He then went to live with his grandmother. This time, he met his uncle, Gilbert, who always had big wads of money. Gilbert was a career criminal. Unfortunately, Danny got involved in his uncle's activities at the age of 8. His uncle introduced him to drugs such as marijuana and heroin. He saw his uncle shooting up heroin, and young Danny wanted to try it because he saw his uncle do it, which he looked up to. And Danny, he loved the feeling. Luckily, at this time, he didn't get addicted to the drug.
He introduced you to heroin.
Okay, well, in his defense, I caught him shooting heroin, and I threatened to tell on him if he didn't give me some. You know what I mean? So,
okay.
You know, I don't know how much time we got, but I had
we got time.
My grandfather was a tyrant. My grandfather was screaming at us, and I'm like, because I know he's gonna hit me, and I'm almost ready to crap my pants. You know, I'm like squeezing so I won't, because I know he's gonna hit me. And I happen to glance over my uncle, and my uncle is looking at death in the face, and he's like
nodding off.
He's nodding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm thinking, this is the baddest dude in the world, not this guy. He's looking at death and nodding. And I remember it's like, my grandfather got so mad at my uncle going down like this, that and he walked into his room, slammed the door, and I'm like looking at Gilbert, and then Gilbert wakes up, hey, did he hit us? You know, oh, I wanted to be just like that.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I wanted to be just like that.
Then, him and his uncle would start doing robberies and drug deals together. Around this time, his uncle showed him how to defend himself, so no one would pick on him. He was able to thrive when it came to fighting. This will be an important factor later in his life. He got his first arrest around the age of 10. He was sent to Juvenile Detention Center, East Lake Juvenile Hall in 1956. This is one of the many arrests as a juvenile throughout the late 1950s and the 1960s. He would be in and out of jail. Fun fact, 1961, he met one of the most notorious cult serial killers, Charles Manson, who was later in life involved with 9 murders in the late 1960s.
Benedict Canyon, high above Los Angeles, and standing out amongst all others, this palatial residence is famously home to the stars. It's also infamous for one of America's most iconic crimes, the shocking scene of mass murder on the orders of crazed cult leader Charles Manson.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. You do exactly what I say.
It may have been 50 years ago, but time does nothing to ease the horror.
Whatever is necessary to do, you do it.
5 people were slaughtered here in the dead of the night, including the stunning and heavily pregnant Hollywood actress Sharon Tate.
But his crime at the time was for probation violation. Danny helped protect him due to his ability to hypnotize people and get them high off drugs by hypnotizing them. And at that time, Danny was really deep into the drug. At 18 years old, fresh out of juvenile detention center, he went to a bar with a girl he was talking to at the time. A sailor tried to harass and assault the girl he was with. He stabbed the sailor in the face with a bottle, and him and the girl fled. But the police found where he lived and arrested him. And now that he was 18, he was going to be sent to prison. And while in prison, he was doing a lot of heroin and other drugs, and it started getting out of control. And he started to box in prison as well, and was so good at it, he won championships like lightweight and welterweight division, which helped build a reputation. He also was extorting new prisoners who seemed weak to other prisoners for protection. It seemed like his life was going for the worse. But one day, Cinco de Mayo, 1968, Danny Trejo was in the yard, and a riot broke out. And allegedly, he threw a rock at a guard, which Danny denied. But due to this, he was facing capital charges. He also could have been facing a death penalty due to hitting the guard. He was sent to solitary confinement. While this was happening, he prayed to God that he wanted to die with dignity, and that every day he would praise God because he believed he was going to die in the prison. But luckily for him, a miracle happened. No one was able to witness the accident or even testify. Danny saw this as a sign from God, decided to get clean, and did the 12-step program, which is a program supporting recovering drug addicts. In 1969, he was released from prison at 27 with a new motive to be clean and do good for his community. He tried to get into professional boxing, but due to an incident with the sailor, he was never able to. When Danny got out of prison, he worked multiple odd jobs, started a gardening business, and was a substance abuse counselor. And one day, his uncle got out of prison and went to visit Dan, and Danny's uncle was disappointed that Danny was not in the streets doing illegal activities like they were before, and tried to pressure Danny to go back to the streets. Danny was able to ignore his uncle and still follow the right path, even though it was tempting. In 1985, Danny's life would change for the better when he worked at Western Pacific Med Corp, which helped out people who were trying to stay sober. One kid told him to come with him to a warehouse because he was tempted to do drugs. Wanted Danny to be there so he wouldn't be tempted to get back into drugs. And Danny decided to go with him. But what Danny didn't know at this time was that they were filming a movie at a warehouse called Runway Train, and a guy named Edward Bunker, who at the time was an author and a screenwriter for the film, noticed Danny, who was also in prison with him, and remembered he was good at boxing and wanted Danny to help train the actors on how to box and make it look real. The director loved his authentic look and the enormous tattoo of the Hispanic lady on his chest, his signature tattoo, and decided to put him in the movie. And he was getting paid $350 a day during that time to basically participate in this movie.
And so I just went down to kind of hang out with him, and I walked on, and I'll never forget, I run into this guy named Eddie Bunker. And Eddie Bunker was a prolific writer, unbelievable writer, right? And I was in San Quentin with this guy, man.
Okay.
And we looked at each other, and Eddie said, "What are you doing here, Danny?" I said, "They're gonna give me $50 for acting like a convict." And we both laughed because we'd been doing that for free all our life.
Right.
And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, he had adapted the screenplay. He was a writer, right?
Oh, very cool.
And he said, "Danny, you still boxing?" Because he saw me win the lightweight and a welterweight title up in Quinn. I go, hell no, I'm 40 years old. I train, can't get hit in the head no more.
Yeah, for sure.
He says, we need somebody to train one of the actors how to box. And I said, what's the pay? They were giving me $50 for acting like a convict. And he says, $320 a day.
Great cash.
And when he said that, I said, how bad you want this guy beat up? I thought he was mad and wanted to kick somebody. I'd have done it for another $50.
Right.
And I started training Eric Roberts how to box.
That's awesome.
Called Runaway Train.
That's awesome.
And Andre Kozlowski asked Eric, and Eric said, yeah, I'll fight him, because I was showing him how to box. And so Andre, I'll never forget it. Andre comes over and says, you be in Russian Aristocrat, his first movie in America. Mm-hmm. You be in movie. You fight Eric in movie. And you be my friend. And he said that. Well, if you got a prison background, you don't like people saying, be my friend.
Sure. Yeah.
And I looked at him and he kissed me on one cheek, kissed me on the other, and walked away. I remember telling Eddie, look, I'm gonna train the kid for $320, but if I gotta kiss that old man, you better give me more money. When he gave me that SAG card, my whole life changed.
Which was better than any other job he did. And he loved the money. Almost every year since this, he was in a movie. But someone let him know that he was being typecast at the time, and he didn't understand because of his roles. He was always typecast as a gangster, an inmate, and everything like that, but Danny identified in these roles, and he didn't know that he was being typecast. He basically started to understand, like, oh wow, I am being typecast. And the movie Death Wish 4 was his first movie that gave him a name other than Inmate 2 or Thug 1.
Sweet thing, I got something big and long for you.
In 1991, Everett James almost wanted him to play in a controversial film called American Me, which I cover in another video. You can check out this video on my YouTube page. And Danny didn't want to participate in this movie. He didn't like how the Mexican mafia was betrayed and how the leader was assaulted in prison.
I saved his life, really, and he won't admit that either.
Well, okay, so from what I understand, that story was based on the head of the Mexican mafia, right? And from what I heard, the big problem in that movie was that he showed that guy getting
was one of them
in Juvenile Hall, and that's considered the biggest no-no.
Right. And then he lied about getting permission to do it. A guy named Eddie Bunker, who was one of Joe Morgan's best friends, and me met actually with Edward and his manager, I guess, at a place called Jerry's Deli in Encino. And I told him out front, you can't do this, Holmes. You can't do this. You're offending some very, very. He said, well, it's theatrical. I got a letter from some people in Marion, Illinois. I'm not in the Mexican mafia, never have been, right? I know, I grew up with all them guys. We were all in Tracy and Soledad together. I never joined. Will you go talk to him? Oh, yeah. I saved his life, really, and he won't admit that either.
But Danny went on to do the cult classic called Blood In and Blood Out.
You used me. What about all the times you used me?
From the director of An Officer and a Gentleman and the producer of La Bamba. Blood In, Blood Out.
Which is an actual honest view of the Mexican mafia and how they came about. This movie gave him worldwide acclaim, according to Danny Trejo. Danny's first A-list movie was Heat, with great amazing actors such as Al Pacino, who played in Scarface, Robert De Niro, Casino, Goodfellas. If you haven't seen that, y'all crazy. Those are classic movies. These are great actors. And this movie was praised with critical acclaim. And in 2010, he finally became a lead actor for the first time for the movie Machete. Danny Trejo has been credited in over 136 films, and he also been in your favorite video games, Call of Duty Black Ops, Fallout New Vegas.
Am I dead? Is this heaven? Oh. Hi, boss. Guess not.
And a new game that had just been released called Yakuza Like a Dragon of Infinite Wealth.
Smoke and mirrors. From sea to shiny sea.
Yeah, what's your point?
It ain't obvious? I'm saying a fake can hold more value than even the genuine article.
He also started multiple other games. And Danny also owned 7 Trejo taco restaurants in the California area, which I have been to, and the food is definitely fantastic. You gotta try it. The reason this video I think was very important is because Danny Trejo is an inspiration, I feel like, to anybody, and that you can make your dreams come true no matter how bad your life is. Hope that it inspires you. I want to thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, and if you can donate as well using super thanks, that'd be awesome. But if not, I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.